So I got access to the SpaceCraft demo from Shadow Games and I went to this curious. I already had seen a lot of discussion about it, a lot of comparisons online, and after spending some time with the demo, I have mixed thoughts. Some good, some cautious, and some that come down to personal taste. So let's walk through the demo, what it actually feels like from waking up on the station to heading out into space, because that progression really matters. You start inside your quarters on Babylon Station. Before you head out, you go through the character creator, and right now it's very basic. A few preset options, not much customization, and you're in. It works, it gets you started, but it's not something you spend much time on. Once I stepped outside of my quarters, the station surprised me. It gave me a Star Citizen kind of vibe. Polished, clean, like you're stepping into something substantial. You can move around the station, talk to the NPCs, and explore the corridors. Even if it's clear, the layout is gently guiding you towards the elevator and the next objective. The guidance feels intentional, very tutorial focused. One small thing I noticed while moving around is your character runs by default. So instead of moving through the station at a natural pace, you're sprinting everywhere unless you consciously slow yourself down. And inside a station that otherwise feels very grounded and well presented, the constant sprinting everywhere just feels out of place. It is a small detail, but it slightly breaks the tone the environment is trying to set. Overall though, the station makes a very strong first impression. And then you get into your ship, and that is where things really start to shift. The moment you launch, the feel of the game totally changes. The ship controls are very smooth, very responsive, honestly, a little too responsive. They lean very strongly toward arcade-style flight. There is no real sense of weight, there is no feel of mass when accelerating, there is no resistance when entering a planet atmosphere. And that made me feel like I was stepping into a different game. The station and the ship feel like two different experiences. I mean, it's not broken, but for me, it just felt off. Now, to be fair, seamless travel between space and planet is there and it works. You can fly down without any loading screens, you can leave the planet very smoothly. And that is something a lot of players have been wanting in space games, like for example Starfield. But so far this is only tested on those two very empty planets. The two planets in the demo are just desert worlds, clean but mostly empty. There's no structures, no busy areas, just resource deposits. So I really like to see how that seamless travel feels once planets are more detailed, more alive, and an actual multiplayer experience. Right now it works, but it doesn't feel very immersive. And that leads into the main loop. Now mining is simple. You scan for deposits, fly close, use the mining laser, and keep an eye on your heat bar. The laser will automatically lock onto the closest deposit when you engage it, and when that is done, it will just automatically jump to the next deposit and mine that one, which feels a little bit too easy for me and very uninvolved. After collecting ores like copper and iron, you return to the station. There you will smelt those ores into ingots. After that you go to the workshop, which works like a 3D printer to craft parts and ship upgrades. The crafting system is very standard for survival games. You craft small parts first, bolts, wires, small pieces, then combine them into larger modules, and those modules become full upgrades. It's not really new, it's not unique, but it's clear and it makes sense. Those crafted components are then used to upgrade your ship. Right now in the demo, that means adding modules like improved scanners or additional cargo space and changing the visual elements such as the ship color. But it is important to clarify, this demo does not include shipbuilding yet. You're not redesigning the hull or swapping structural parts here. You're upgrading through predefined modules. So from what has been shown outside of the demo, the plan is to allow swapping larger ship parts like cockpits, wings, and other components once the game moves into early access. So shipbuilding is clearly part of the long-term vision. It isn't available in this demo version, at least not as far as I can see. At this stage, customization is functional but limited to just the basic modules like a scanner or cargo. There is also a trading terminal where you can sell materials, buy what you're missing, or you can also trade parts if you need to. So the foundation for a larger production and economy system is clearly there, but in this demo we're only seeing the first layer of it. Without base building or automation unlocked, it feels more like a structured onboarding into the systems, almost proof of concept rather than a full gameplay slice. It was honestly a bit of a shame not to get hands-on with base building, but I also understand that once base building opens up, it likely requires opening larger production systems, automation mechanics, and deeper loops. That might simply be too early for this stage. Now, I do feel the need to address the comparisons that have been made. Before I played this demo, I saw multiple reviews and discussions comparing SpaceCraft to No Man's Sky and Space Engineers, but if you actually spend serious time in those games, especially thousands of hours for me, it's very hard not to benchmark things mentally. But based purely on this demo, that comparison does not hold up. Not in ship handling, not in planetary density, and not yet in building depth because we haven't seen it yet. So I think those comparisons, at least at this stage, set expectations the demo simply is not trying to fulfill. And that definitely influenced how I experienced it. If I had gone in without that framing, without that comparison, I might have felt differently. Although, to be fair, the flight still felt off for me regardless. So, it is important to separate what this demo actually shows from what people are projecting onto it. Now, I got a few smaller observations. The UI does its job. It is functional. It doesn't really stand out, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but some text elements, especially during NPC interactions and missions, they felt slightly small or hard to read at times. The sound design didn't particularly stand out either, which likely means it's serviceable, but not especially impactful yet. The station ambience felt the most finished. As for multiplayer, when starting the game, you choose a region and then connect to a server, which suggests we are connecting to some form of online environment. However, I did not encounter any other players during my session. It is unclear whether multiplayer was fully enabled or if this is a phase more testing about the connectivity and infrastructure. So that side of the experience remains a bit of a question mark. Right now, SpaceCraft feels like an early foundation. It is stable, it is structured, and it's easy to understand. But it's clearly also minimal. And that's understandable because this is a demo of an alpha version. With the 2026 release window in mind, there's clearly time for the systems to evolve and deepen. The demo itself runs smoothly, there were no crashes, no stutters, and no strange technical hiccups, so whatever direction the game grows in, it is starting from a technically solid base. For me personally, the arcade-leaning flight, especially compared to its first impression on the station, makes it feel like it's aiming at a slightly different audience than I am. But it doesn't mean it won't evolve. Now, just so you know, this isn't an open demo. You have to request access. It took me a few hours to get in. If you do get access, then let me know what you think, because this game could develop in some interesting ways, and I'm curious to see which direction it chooses. Another thing I'm curious about is to hear what you think as well. Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, then hit that like button. I want to thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Beeblebum out.